Okay, I want to talk to you about Nabil Fekir. I know you're probably bored of talking about him, but with Manchester United rumoured to be interesting, Olas has come out, was it yesterday or today, and he's had a lengthy chat with Jose Mourinho and stuff. He's looking for now around about 61.5 million instead of the 53, I think it was, that Liverpool agreed. Personally, do you think this deal will ever happen at Liverpool?
It depends who you speak to. You know, I think what's clear is that Aulas is desperate to move Fekir on this summer. I think the amount of talking he's done about him. You're right. He was quoted as saying that he'd had a lengthy chat with Jose Mourinho. I think the day before he'd given an interview talking about Real Madrid being very interested. It played down the idea that there was a medical issue with Liverpool and Fekir, and that it was a financial issue that they couldn't get the deal done.
What's the truth of that?
There definitely was a medical issue. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that, because you don't a player doesn't have a medical until a financial deal has been agreed. So clearly, from my information is that Liverpool weren't happy with how his ACL injury had been repaired from 3 years ago. He'd had a couple of minor knee problems since then as well. And my information initially was that despite getting the second opinion that Liverpool were going to push ahead with the deal, I think it was on that Friday, and there was even talk of a 5 p.m. announcement that day,
Yeah,
and I think
then a 6 and then a 9.
Yeah, you're right, and I was actually off at the time, but obviously getting various messages and
You co-wrote an article that day, didn't you? Or was that the day after? I
Yeah.
noticed you'd written something from your holiday.
It wasn't. Yeah, I didn't actually write it. It was more kind of phoning in little snippets of information that have been sent. The information I had was that the reason it hadn't been, they'd done the medical on the Thursday, that the staff had flown out to Paris to do it, and then announcement Friday afternoon, and then obviously got the news that they were seeking a second opinion on his knee, but that initially the word was that it wasn't going to scupper the deal. Then you get the delays in the announcement, and you start to think that something obviously has gone awry here, and then to the point where you find out that they don't intend to proceed with it. So I think there was a bit of indecision in terms of, on Liverpool's part, do we go ahead and do this, do we not? In the end, I think with obviously that weekend was when Fekir was joining up with the France squad. I think they knew that timescale wise, if it was going to happen before the World Cup, that was when it had to happen. And then it's like most things with transfers, it can be pretty murky. Liverpool say they didn't try to renegotiate the deal after the medical issues were flagged up. Sources in France say that they did try to renegotiate the structure of the deal. Aulas wouldn't accept that, so that was why that led to his announcement on the Saturday.
I've got to say, from purely opinion and guesswork, right?
That's the best. That's the best way.
100%. Not even a slightest bit of doubt in my mind trying to renegotiate that. I went and bought a house about 5 years ago, and we put an offer in, and it came through, and the house was in complete disrepair. It needed absolutely tons doing to it. And we knew it. We paid for the biggest survey you could put. Nobody pays for the biggest survey. This is how bad the house was. My house, by the way. We paid for the biggest survey. It come back. The house was destroyed. Of course, we knocked them down. We knew it anyway. You could look at it. It's falling down. But you go back anyway when you got a piece of paper in your hand and say, it needs this, and this doing to it. We need to renegotiate price, and they dropped the price because that's what they were always going to do. There's no way this Liverpool Football Club with that many millions on the line don't go, hang on a minute, he's got a bit of a dodgy knee there, Mr. Olas. We need to renegotiate this price. Also, couple that with the fact that from the Keita stuff from a year ago, I remember Mel Reddy doing an article, and it was about the insurance that was probably taken out on Keita for his year away. If you're investing 53 million quid into a player, and you know that he's got a dodgy knee, and you've got to insure your player, what does that do to it? I mean, that must play some part in the transfer.
Yeah, well, it was a similar thing with Loic Remy, wasn't it? A few years back, where I think it was in Boston actually. Loic Remy had flown out to Boston on the tour, and again, the word was that everything was fine. It was going to get announced, and then there was a delay, and it went on to the next day, and then. Again, similarly to the Fekir one, you start to think, well, hang on a minute, what's the hold up here? And then again, it's the other thing. Obviously, when you're talking about a medical issue, is anyone connected with the transfer is very reluctant to speak about exactly what the issue is because of confidentiality. Yeah. So that was certainly the case with Remy. Liverpool just wouldn't say, and then I don't think it's any great secret that there was some heart condition that he'd had before that Liverpool decided it was too big a risk. Within a couple of months, I think he'd signed for Chelsea. They obviously decided it wasn't too big a risk. So, yeah, I mean, I think the $1 million question is, do Liverpool go back in for him after the World Cup? And
go on, James.
Well, do you know what? At the moment, it's not clear. I mean, you speak to people at Liverpool, and they, they're adamant that the knee was too big a risk, and unless I just think that unless Aulas is prepared to basically backtrack and renegotiate that deal significantly, which I've just got my doubts whether he will do, to be honest.
It doesn't seem like it. I mean, he's talking in the press about being an extra 8 or 9 million quid on top. Yeah. And you're thinking, hang on, this guy is rumoured to have a dodgy knee, and now you're adding 9 million on top just because he's played a few minutes for France.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of take a lot of what Aulas says with a pinch of salt, just because it's the same fella who I think maybe 24 hours before Liverpool did Fekir's medical was putting out statements saying it was completely untrue. They'd agreed a fee, and that when clearly they had agreed a fee, you don't send medical staff to Paris unless there is a deal in place. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, of course, Liverpool haven't pursued an alternative since, which makes you think that there is an outside chance that it could be revived, but I still think it's unlikely. I'd be surprised, but the transfer market can change very, very quickly, and it's I think a lot or hinge on Lyon and Aulas himself, and probably who else comes in from after the World Cup, because I think the other thing is Lyon would certainly, I'm sure Aulas was thinking, oh well, not the end of the world, we didn't get the deal done before the World Cup, because he'll go to Russia and light the place up, and that hasn't happened so far. He hasn't had much of a look in, and France have been bang average. So, but you never know, if he has a couple of stormers in the knockout stages, then there might be a few more people ringing Aulas, and he might even get that price that he's been talking up recently.